Hey guys, it's me. It's Queen Said Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask and Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, pass it on to somebody else who might like it too, and drop us a positive comment in the comment section. Also, please make sure you stay to the end of the video because I'm going to read and discuss two of my favorite positive comments from previous videos. Also, if you want to get a reading done, please email me. All of my information is underneath this video. If you would like to hit me up on social media, if you would like to send me a gift, if you would like to send me a PayPal donation, everything you need to contact me is underneath this video. All right, guys. So I got a very good question today. I'm going to read you the question, then we're going to talk about it. She said, I live in an urban environment, and I'm expected to be hard and aggressive. I've lived in the hood my whole life, but I'm not a hood bitch. Because I'm not from the hood I currently live in, I get a lot of hate and dirty stares. I'm an empath, and the stares and psychic attacks are starting to get to me. I'm being spiritually bullied. Sometimes they all just stare at me in silence when I walk past, and laugh when my back is turned. How can I stay strong mentally? I'm anti-hood shit, but I can't help but get angry when a girl stares at me like she wants to fight. Can you please give me some mental health advice? I'm also trying to let go of what hood people think of me. I've wanted them to find me attractive my whole life, and now at 25, I'm trying to let them go, but it's hard. So this is interesting to me because when you talk about being from the hood, I'm from the hood, so I'm I'm there with you, okay? So I totally understand that, but I don't think this just happens in the hood. I think this happens in any environment where you have people of the same community. So the hood is a community, you know. If you were in King Arthur's court, that's a community. You know, if you're in a Mexican neighborhood, that's a community. Whatever community that you go in, regardless of the culture, the class, or the socioeconomic situation, it's a community. And when you're in these communities, you get a lot of pressure to be just like the community, to conform to the norms of the community. So being in the hood, being anywhere where you grow up at or you're a part of this community, you can definitely expect things like this. So being in the hood, you are expected to be aggressive. You're expected to be assertive. You're expected to like a certain kind of music. You're expected to watch certain types of movies. You're expected to have certain types of clothes. Okay? And when I grew up in my hood, I was very weird to everybody else because that wasn't me. I wasn't into what they were listening to. They were listening to hip hop. They were listening to rap music and R&B. Now, mind you, I like a little bit of that. I wasn't like totally 100% against it. I like a little bit of that, but I was more into love songs, 80s music, Peter Cetera. I would do anything for love. Linda Ronstadt. You know, I was into love ballads, okay? I was into 80s music. I was into Phil Collins, you know, the group Heart. I was into stuff like that. So I'm listening to Q102, and everybody I know listening to Power 99. You know, they listening to, you know, the R&B stations, the rap, the hip hop stations. And I'm listening to Easy Listening, B101, you know, those types of stations. So I know exactly what you mean. I didn't shop at City Blue. Everybody in my neighborhood, they shopped at City Blue and Foot Locker. They had on the freshest sneakers, they had on them Jordans, and they had on City Blue outfits, you know, mostly jeans and matching tops, that kind of thing. And I had a few of those, you know, but I was always somebody who liked old Hollywood. So I would emulate a lot of the old Hollywood looks. And that was my thing. So as an Aquarius, I was extremely creative and extremely eccentric. And what I would wear and what I would be into, I went to a different school than everybody else. My mom sent me to private school. And then after I graduated from 8th grade, I insisted upon going to Creative and Performing Arts High School, which was in South Philly. And all my friends were going to school in Uptown, in public schools down the street, you know? So basically it was like, you know, everything, I hung with these people. They were my friends, or so I thought, you know, because when you live on the same block, are you really friends? That can be debated. But I hung with these people and I was cool with these people, but I was nothing like them. My daughter, exactly the same thing. My daughter was even worse than me because I would at least go outside and I would talk and hang out with these people sometimes when I got bored. My daughter really didn't. She was more into her computer friends, you know, because that is where her interests lie. Her computer friends had the same interests as her. None of the kids in the neighborhood were into the stuff she was into. You know, my daughter was into creative writing, and she was into, she still is into like My Little Pony fandom and stuff like that. And the kids around us, they weren't really into that. They were more like into Pokemon and stuff like that. So when the people around you and the people in your community are not into what you're into, you do feel this pressure. And sometimes it did feel negative. Sometimes it did feel hateful. Sometimes they did laugh at me. You know, sometimes people didn't like me or talk crap about me, you know, and I just got, as I got older, I was so used to it, I just didn't care. I just got used to it and I didn't care anymore. And it was like, I'm going to do me and you can say whatever you want to say about it, but I'm going to do it anyway. So in your particular case, I'm going to say two things. Number one, I'm going to say you don't have to live there. First chance I got, I moved. I moved where, you know, people would be more open-minded, or so I thought. The person I was living with was more open-minded, put it like that. I moved in with my daughter's father. So he was more open-minded. His friends were more open-minded. They were kind of like me. They were nerds too, you know. They were into like role-playing games, you know, Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. And I got into that from meeting them. So we were into more like intellectual games and stuff like that. So I moved with them and they were, you know, more of my speed. So number one, you don't have to live there. Move someplace with people that are more your speed. You know, one thing I tell people, you know, most people are born and they die within a like 5 to 10 mile radius. So they're born in a city and they die very close to that same city. You don't have to stay where you are. You can move wherever you want. You can move to any part of the world that you want to move to, any neighborhood that you want to move to. Look and see. You know, I don't know how old you are, because if you're, you know, underage, obviously you're going to have to wait a bit. But if you're old enough to get your own, I would say save up, find a way, get your own, go to college, you know, leave, you know, because that's what I did. I got out, I was done and never really went back. I would go see my mom because my mom still lives on that same block, but I didn't go for cookouts or to hang out or anything like that. I kept it moving. I found like-minded people and just moved on. So I would suggest that you do that. Now, you mentioned in here two other things. The first thing you said is that you're being bullied by these, you know, spiritually bullied by these people and they're laughing. All I'm going to say is I had the same thing happen to me and I just ignored them. I ignored them until I could get away from there, because you're not going to change how they feel. You know, the thing about bullies is bullies pick on targets. And as long as you're different, you're always going to be a target. So I personally would just ignore them and I would get the hell out of there the first chance I got. Then you mentioned wanting, you said something about, let me see, and that'll keep you from, you know, arguing or fighting. Definitely don't argue and fight. Totally don't do that. That'll just get you into a bad situation of violence, a bad cycle of violence. Then you talked about, you said something to the effect about wanting to feel attractive, wanting to be attractive to, you know, people that are in the hood. I know you said that you know, you're trying to work on that and trying to let go of that. I definitely would recommend counseling because two reasons. Number one, that's something that's a psychological thing. So somewhere inside of you, you feel like you need them to, approve of you to feel redeemed, and you don't. So I would talk to somebody. I would go to therapy about that because that'd be helpful to you. Another thing I've heard from a lot of people, specifically from the hood, that they suffer from PTSD. There was one therapist that said just living in the hood can give you PTSD. The constant gunshots, the violence, the negativity, all those things that go on can give a person PTSD, which I never really thought about until I read about it. So if I were you, I would go talk to a professional. I would talk to a therapist, and I would talk about these thoughts and the way I feel about this, and I would try to get some help, because all of these things can be unraveled. Whatever way that you started believing that you needed their validation, you can unlearn. I used to think I needed people's validation. I unlearned it. I learned that the only person's validation I really need is my own. And it took me a long time to realize that. But I wish I had figured that out when I was younger. But the sooner you figure it out, the better. So don't worry about that aspect. So yeah, I definitely would go to therapy and get some help in those areas. So when you say give you some mental health advice, my advice is to go see a professional, and they'll help you. They'll talk with you. You can talk about your problems. They'll give you things to read. You can talk about your experiences. A lot of people are afraid to go to therapy, but therapy is extremely helpful. Okay? And the other thing is just to know that nothing is wrong with you. You being unusual, you being different, that's actually very normal. A lot of people have told me about that. I knew this girl, and when I was in college, and she was from India. And she talked about how she was like, more modern. She went to college in Philadelphia. She listened to hip hop. Her clothes were more, her mom said they were more masculine, actually. And she would go through that too with her community. So a lot of us have that issue. Whenever you're a little bit different from the community, you may run into that issue. And that's why I said, if it's really negative, I definitely would leave. Malamore said, I didn't like that there were no consequences. Malamore is talking about the video I did called Cuties Ain't Cute. If you didn't see Cuties Ain't Cute, check that out. So Malamore said the thing she didn't like about the movie Cuties is that there were no consequences for Amy's actions at all. She stole someone's phone. Yes, she did. Posted nudes. Yes, she did. Stole from her mom. Lied about her whereabouts. Yes, she did. And even almost murdered a girl, and nothing happened. And then she just has her own epiphany that she's doing the most. Laugh out loud. Usually kids' wake-up call comes from the consequence of their actions. I just didn't find that believable or realistic. That is very true. The young girl, I don't know if it's Amy or Amy. I think it was Amy. I'm not sure. But the young girl who the movie is about did do all of the things that she just listed. And there was no consequences. When she stole money from her mom. She must have stole about, I'm thinking $300, $400, $500, and took her friends and her little brother on a shopping spree. When she did that, I could not believe her mother didn't do a thing. She didn't punish her. She didn't discuss it with her. She didn't do nothing. My mom would have dropped her elbow on my neck. Okay? My mom would still be kicking my ass right now if I had done something like that. When I was a kid, we stole money from our parents. We stole quarters. We stole change, stuff like that. And for the most part, we didn't even do that. Because I remember a friend of mine got caught. She stole a keychain or something. We were terrified to steal things. So if you did take something, it was when you were really small, before you really knew better. And once you knew better, you did not do that again. I remember that. My friend stole that keychain from the mall. Her mother kicked her butt. So for her not to get any consequences was really strange to me. And you're right, consequences is what makes a person change. So for her not to receive any consequences and still change was very unrealistic. The only consequence I can say she received was when she was dancing in the final scene and all of the people in the audience were gasping and covering their eyes, and their expression. If I was on stage dancing and everybody was going like this, and I would feel like a fool. I'd be humiliated. So that humiliation was the only real consequence that she received, and the movie is trying to make us believe that that was enough for her to change. After she stole, lied, and she did almost murder somebody. And I don't think she tried to murder her on purpose. She pushes her into the river. And she does wait to see if the girl, swims to this thing and saves herself. So she didn't just push her and left. She did stick around and kind of watched. But you just push somebody into a river because you want to take their place in a dance contest. Are you serious? You could have killed her. So you're right. It was not enough consequences for me. 100% correct. All right. Mary Cruz Martinez. Hey, sweetie. How you doing? She said, congratulations on 10,000 subscribers. Honestly, you're my favorite to watch and hear every morning. It's always different topics in history. Thank you for your time, Miss Queen. Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you so much. You're welcome. All right, guys, it's time for me to get going. So I'll be back soon because I got a lot more to say. Remember, if you want a reading done, email me and I got your back. See you later.